Welcome to St Ives Lakes. Purpose of this video is to kind of dispel myths and rumours about the place, which I know there's a few. What we're going to do is give you a bit of a walk around the fishery, showing you each of the lakes and describing what's in them, basically. Give you an idea of what's here on offer at this superb fishery. This is the Sailing Lake, otherwise known as Meadow Lake. It itself is about 60 acres in size, but it's also connected to two other lakes because of bank erosion. It's connected to two separate lakes over there, Little Fjords and Big Fjords. We'll go and have a look at them in a little while, but we've got 60 acres here, originals to 44 pounds or bigger, depending on the time of year. There's myths and rumours, as per usual. Definite myths and rumours. I've seen them, other people have seen them. I'm sure other people have caught them in the past but kept them quiet. It's not fished that extensively. Little Fjords and Big Fjords is fished more, but I think the size of the water kind of puts people off. But like I say, there's big originals. There's one or two big fish that haven't been caught. Over the past 5 years, 6 years, I've also been stocking fish into here, which are now this season all coming out more or less over 20 pounds. Biggest this season's 23.10, biggest last season was 25. There's the original stocking that I put in about 7 years ago. They've been seen by good anglers, fish to upper 20s and early 30s as well. A lot more fish in here than there used to be. One guy this year's already had 15 fish out of meadow, just by keeping his eye on the water, following the shoal about. It looks daunting, but you know, it's easy enough if you're clever. If you fancy a challenge, this is the one. Well, here we are on Little Fjords, which is connected to the Sailing Lake, which we were just on. Obviously fish can move in and out. This time of year they tend to come in here to spawn. There's a large reed bed off to my left. A lot of the originals get seen in here in the spring, you know, the brownfish and blackjack. There's probably 20 or so others that are always hanging back off the main shoal. Yet again, lots of islands, dot islands, finger bays. As with Meadow, it's a sort of lake that lends itself well to the mobile angler. If you see fish and you can move on them, then you know you've got a very good chance of catching them. If you don't move on them, you haven't got a chance of catching them. But it's an extension to Meadow. It's where they spawn this time of year. Lots of interesting habitat. Come and have a go. Connected to Meadow, and in turn connected to Little Fjords, is Big Fjords. Dave Lane, I nearly said Dave Little. Dave Lane wrote about the fjords in one of his books, catching a fish called the brownfish. Well, no, he didn't catch the brownfish, but blackjack was the one he caught. He named it blackjack. Good head of fish. Obviously they can move in out of they can move in from Meadow, they can move in and out of Little Fjords, so you've basically got 100 acres of water where they can move in and out of. You've got islands, spits, points, bays. Obviously the stockies are all doing well, same as they are in Meadow, obviously the same fish. There's been plenty of 30s seen, but not caught. I mean, the first fish I stocked was probably, or we stocked was 7-8 years ago. None of them seem to have been caught since. The fish that are getting caught are probably about 5 years old, and they're all in the 21 to 25 range. The brownfish has been out once this season so far, 44.14, which is quite a good weight, although the biggest it's been is 46. It's a gorgeous water. It's a challenge. You know, you've got a lot of walking to do, paddling through wet stuff and all the rest of it. But fantastic lakes. good head of fish, some big fish, and yet again some big mysteries as well that get seen and not caught very often. Well, here we are on Longreach, 40 acres. Biggest fish out last year was 41.5. That's a common known as the friendly common. Normally comes out once or twice a year. It's got a real mishmash of fish. You've got fish from 10 pound up to 40 pound. Some have flooded in from the river, some have been moved from elsewhere. There's the usual amount of fish that get caught each year, mainly 20s, upper 20s and 30s. There's a fair head of commons in here. There's at least 5 over 30. It's a great margin water. All the margins are real deep. I mean, where I'm standing here at the moment as well, there's a bar runs out from here. This end of the lake, you've got 8 bars running down the lake away from me, and then from the middle island, the bars start running across the lake. It's a real intricate water. Fantastic head of fish, fantastic carp. Another one of St Ives Great Lakes. Well, here we are on Shallopit, which is the kind of main syndicate now. We started stocking it about 10 years ago. Previous to then, it didn't have many carp in. It was known as a bit of a tench and bream water. Still producing tench to 11.5 last year. But the carp that we stocked in here had done really well. This year the biggest fish, Colin, came out at 50 pound 4. It came out 3 weeks previous at 48. There's a fish called Big Head, came out over 45. Fish called Laney's, which came out after spawning at 38. But there's basically three 40s, 15 to 20 30s at the right time of year, and everything else tends to be over 25. But we have been sneaking a few double figure fish in from Tricor. We've put about 5 in over the past couple of years. Excuse me, just to keep it topped up and just to keep fish coming through. Hell of a water. Probably, I mean, if you're a decent angler, you can expect to catch 10-15 fish in a year, and you know, now obviously, especially next year, chance of a 50. Here we've got Tricor number 1. It was formed when they built a causeway behind us, separating, well, cutting right across the middle of the lake. So there's now Tricor 1, Tricor 2. They built a causeway to run a conveyor belt over to dig the lakes over the back, the Scout and Cub Lake. It's been vastly neglected over the years, over the past 15 years. When we first brought the Shallopit fish onto the site, we moved them into here. They grew so rapidly, we started rod and lining them out and putting them into Shallopit. There's 1 or 2 left in here. Biggest mirror is about 35. As you can see, it's only a small lake. It's only 2 acres at the most. I've also stocked it with AJS Fisheries fish and VS Fisheries fish, and they're all sort of coming out between 15 and 20 pounds yet again. We are moving the occasional small linear and mirrors from here into Shallopit, one or 2 a year, just to keep the Shallopit fish coming through. But there's only 3 swims on here. It's a good floater water. They respond well to floaters. Not many people fish it yet again, but there's at least 75 fish in here, 75 stock fish. Then there's common come out twice this year at 29, and then there's the big elusive mirror, which probably only been out 3 times in the past 5 years, I'd imagine. But it's in here, it gets seen. 1 or 2 anglers stalking, having a go. Good head of tench as well. Biggest I know of is just over 9. Double figure bream. No one about, you know, good water, good fish, big fish. Another St Ives Lake. This lake's Anderson's. It's on the same side of the complex as the Lagoon and Lowry's and Ives. Only about 4 acres in size. A lot of it is shallow. This side, most of it is kind of 8 to 10 feet deep. I stocked it with carp. I've been stocking it with carp over the last 5 years, the biggest of which is about 16, 17 pound now. They're all double figures. Very, very dark fish, very nice. It's also got originals, like the Ives has originals. The only time it was really publicised was when Terry Hearn was fishing on the Lagoon, and he used to come over here when it was quiet over there, and he was baiting up, and he caught quite a few decent carp. Biggest one was a fish called, well, he called it Oink. It used to be known as Mickey's fish before that. He called it Oink, but that was just a shade under 30 pounds. And since then, there's not really been many people fishing it. And as far as I know, it's still here. It's either the bigger fish are either in Anderson's or Ives, but there's a good head of carp in both. And as you can see, beautiful surroundings, lily beds, deep shallows. They respond well to floaters. There's good tench. There was an 11-2 out a couple of weeks ago. That was genuine. So that's Anderson's. This one's Meadow Lake. Yet again, about 4 acres in size. Lots of tench, bream, double figure bream, tench up to 6-7 pound. No real monsters, but a good head of tench and bream. As with Anderson's, I've stocked it with carp over the last 5 years. They're doing a similar size to the ones in Anderson, so they're mid doubles, 16, 17. Yet again, a stock of originals, and the most regular visitor to the bank is a linear. I've called the Ives linear, nice and imaginative, and that was last out at £28.10. That's a proper old leany carp, kind of like a double row linear. Deep margins, lily beds, not many people fishing it, worth a go.
I just wanted to say, I've been thinking about you.
The lake behind me now, this one is Lowry's. It's on the same side of the complex as the Ives and Anderson's. Hardly gets fished at all. Obviously you can see there's a lot of lilies. Springtime, it's easily fishable. But obviously once they all get up, it's a bit tricky. But there's 1 or 2 swims that some of the tench anglers fish. It's not fished by carp anglers, but the tench fishing and the bream fishing is great. Probably, you know, these swims are quite small. You need to rake an area, good old-fashioned chucking the old rake out. But yet again, it's another lake on the complex that's very underfished. Like I say, we don't know what carp are in there. We know carp are in there, but it's a damn good tench fishery. Well, here we are on the Lagoon. This is the probably the most well-known lake at St Ives Lakes. In fact, it's probably the lake that people only know about because of the publicity surrounding the big fish that used to live in here called the Fat Lady. Obviously, you all know she died 4 years ago now. There's still remaining big fish population. There's 6 fish over 30 pounds. Biggest goes over 40. Known as the black pig. There's 5 other decent 30s, original 30s, probably 20 other original fish which aren't 30, so they're less well known. And 3 years ago, April 3 years ago, we stocked 100 fish between, well, they were averaging £4. This year they've been coming out an average of about 15 to 18 pounds. There's more people fishing here at the moment than there ever has been this past couple of years, because obviously the fish are getting bigger. People are still interested in coming down to fish for the odd stocky, but they're doing really well. Still waiting for the first £20 stocky to come out, but this year there's been fish to 39.12. There's a common came out called the Big Common original. That came out at 39.12. That's definitely a 40 for the future. Gorgeous fish. There's been 1 or 2 other 30s as well, but there's been a lot of the stockage caught between 15 and 18. It's definitely up and coming again. Lots of swims. It's about 30 acres, but there's about 20 swims on it. Some very nice grassy swims, easy access. So hopefully, you know, we can bring it back to where it was, you know, when the lady was alive. Obviously, I don't expect there to be another 50 in here in any great hurry, but it's going to be a good fishery. There's going to be a good head of 30s in here in about 5 years. They're all coming on well, so fingers crossed for the future.